The break room was well stocked. Its spacious interior had enough room for 15 tables, dozens of chairs, 4 coffee makers, a pair of refrigerators, and a state-of-the-art food printing machine. In the corner of the room was a small couch, made of compression foam, and covered in expensive hand-stitched leather. The executives at Ethereal Concepts had recently come to the conclusion that the best way to promote productivity was to import high-quality furniture from Italy. The expected increase had yet to manifest itself. Upon the expensive couch sat a 10-year-old boy with unruly black hair that hung well down his forehead. He was motionless, save for his breathing, which was slow and relaxed. The rise and fall of his blue Astro Star t-shirt, the one that he had purchased with his first saved allowance money and of which he was very proud, matched the tempo of his breath. His gray eyes, which everyone was quick to say matched his mother's, were transfixed on the opposing wall. The entire wall was alive with motion and color. The nano circuitry meshed into the wallpaper let you change its design to whatever you felt like. Normally, a singular setting was chosen. A meadow with chirping crickets and grass blowing the breeze, or a window looking out on a famous city, which allowed the workers at Ethereal Concepts to watch real-time footage of what was happening across the entire planet as they ate their lunch. Displayed on the wall today, however, was a podium. Flanking it were 2 huge flags, colored red, white, and blue. Behind it was a great eagle, bronzed upon a seal. Across the front, next to the channel logo, a red banner repeated, "President to speak about crisis." Eric Wren wasn't scared anymore. When his father had changed their destination and called his mother, Eric was so afraid that he could hardly breathe. Now, he was just bored. There were no toys here, and even if there were, no one to play with. "Karen," his father had said over the XLR's built-in phone, "I need you to pack up everything now." "What do you mean, Thomas?" she had asked him. Glancing at his young son, Thomas pressed a button on the console of the car, and the conversation was transferred to a small silver and blue speaker in his ear. "Turn on the news," he said, with a strange expression on his face. After a few moments of silence, he spoke in response to a prompt that Eric no longer could hear. "Honey, Karen, calm down." He paused again. "Karen, look at the pictures. There's no way they..." Thomas's face looked pained. "I know, darling, I know." "Karen, please focus. They're gone, Karen." Eric reached up and grabbed his father's data pad from where it sat, forgotten, on the front passenger seat. Displayed upon it was the same picture that his father had received a few minutes earlier. Eric looked at the burning buildings. "Whoa," he said, with an awe that only a child can muster. Then he read the caption at the bottom of the picture. "Los Angeles, annihilated." "That's where Grandma and Grandpa live," he thought. "I wonder if they got to see what happened." His father's voice grew louder and interrupted Eric's thoughts. "Karen, you need to listen. There isn't anything that we can do about that now. I need you to pack our things." His voice dropped down again. "Darling, please, for Eric's sake." There was a long pause as Thomas listened intently. Then he spoke again. Eric was surprised to see a tear roll down his father's cheek. "Ethereal Concepts." Thomas stopped mid-sentence. Eric wondered what his mother might be saying. "Yes, we'll be there. I'm sure he'll be safe, Karen." "Okay, see you soon. I love you." His father pressed a button and ended the call. For a few moments, he stared blankly out the front windshield at the passing suburban landscape as the car made its way out of the center of the city. Soon, it would pass rolling hills and then rocky edifices on its way to his offices. Finally, the balding physicist wiped the wet streak from his face and inhaled deeply. "Daddy?" Eric asked, his voice small. "What's going on?" Thomas gave his son a helpless glance. Then he took another deep breath. After a moment, he began to speak. Now, Eric knew, and he wasn't scared anymore. As he watched the news, he wondered if Grandma and Grandpa had made it out all right. He was sure they had. Grandpa was a tough old man. He had been in the military. He'd give these aliens a fight for sure. Stay right here, his father had told him before leaving to find anyone who hadn't yet fled home to their families. Eric had heard him muttering something about needing to accelerate preparations for departure as he left the break room, his balding head shining in the white fluorescent light. "Ladies and gentlemen," a voice sounded from the screen, rousing the young boy from his thoughts. "The President of the United States." The woman with long red hair walked with a stately stride out from the right side of the screen. Eric heard the shudder of clicking cameras. She took her place behind the podium at the center of the screen. He thought she looked tired. There were lines on her face and bags under her eyes. Her suit looked wrinkled. He was certain that she could have fallen asleep standing if she had needed to. "My fellow Americans," she said, sounding exhausted. "To fellow nations. To all of the people of the world." She paused and took in a long breath, lifting herself higher off the podium. "As of this morning, we found out we are not alone in the universe." The clicking of cameras increased in intensity. The president paused and waited for it to die down. There were murmurs somewhere out in the crowd, unseen. "Something terrible and malicious has found its way to our home. These beings have shown no mercy. As I speak to you, Beijing, Hong Kong, London, Tokyo, Manila, Berlin, Rio de Janeiro." She paused. "Los Angeles and San Francisco have all been destroyed. The death toll is in the hundreds of millions, perhaps even greater. Our military responded rapidly and appropriately alongside our allies. But this foe has an insurmountable technological advantage over us." Erin saw tears well in her eyes. Soon, they were rolling freely down her face. The president didn't seem to notice. "I must ask all of you to keep your humanity about you. Be with your families. Prepare a safe place. Find food and shelter. But please do not panic. We need to stand strong right now. Together, as a united front, we will be much stronger than we are if we begin to fight amongst ourselves. You entrusted me with leadership under circumstances much different than these. I ask that you reaffirm your trust in me now. The United States will fight for as long as it takes. We are not about to give up. Give me your faith and I will not let you down." Eric watched as the president stopped to take a few breaths. She pulled her shoulders back and tried to make herself taller. For the most part, she succeeded. So far, none of our conventional arms have been able to significantly impede their assault. However, she paused and something flashed across her face. It looked defiant. "A secret project created by my predecessor has been repurposed to fight these aliens. A lunar magnetic acceleration cannon has been fired at the alien vessel in low Earth orbit. It was a direct hit." She paused, letting the word sink in. The room was silent this time. Eric didn't hear a single camera. "As of right now, it appears damaged and shows no signs of activity. Clearly, these things can be damaged and destroyed. If that's true, then they can be beaten." There was another pause. "To that end, I have ordered the 1st, 3rd, and 4th Fleet stationed near Hawaii to begin their assault on the ship still near San Francisco. These brave men will be joined by the entire home-based U.S. Air Force, as well as several thousand surface missiles. We are going to bring that hellish hunk of metal out of the sky. We are going to retake the initiative. They may have started this fight, but we are damn well going to finish it." The president slammed a fist down on the podium, and the microphone on her suit caused it to resonate loudly over the speakers. Suddenly, there was thunderous applause that came from somewhere off-screen. Eric clapped excitedly from his spot on the couch. His gray eyes were wide with interest. An aide ran up to the president from off-screen. A young man, but he looked as pale as a ghost. There seemed to be an unceasing trembling about him. He leaned in close to the president and attempted to whisper in her ear. He spoke too loudly, however, and Eric heard what he said. "Madam President, the ship has powered back up. The hammer is not yet prepared to fire another round. The room was still roaring with applause. But President Julia Edwards suddenly looked anything but excited. The author's name and the link to original text is in the description. Consider tapping the thumbs up and pressing the subscribe button if you enjoyed this video.